want you guys to get some, have goals, you know, kind of get your goals set from today forward. As you can tell, I have an awesome panel here. These guys are local Floridians, IFBB Pros in each of their fields. We're going to try to cover some grounds of different the categories, and hopefully you guys get to learn what I call learn from the pros. Hopefully you get to learn from some of the pros here, different categories that you guys are involved in, and be able to take it to, we want to empower you guys with the knowledge that they have, and take it for next year and be able to go and perform to your best. With that said, we're going to have each one of my pros up here kind of give a brief idea of how to get started and what have you. We're going to go down the line. Our first person we're going to deal with, who wants to go first? They get nobody.
I knew it.
I'm a hand raiser.
She's used to it
Every time.
We're going to start with Jamie Baird. Okay, please stand, please.
Okay, I'm going to stand up because I feel a little like, I don't know, boardroomy behind the table. My name is Jamie Baird and I'm an IFBB Bikini Pro. But actually my career did not start in bikini. I was a figure athlete in the beginning. But that's because there was no bikini division early on. And so that was back in 2007. And my whole purpose for competing was pretty simple. I was a career woman. I traveled all the time. I really literally had no time for myself, and I thought, oh my gosh, if I don't do something to carve out time for myself, I think I'm gonna go crazy. And so my husband and I went to a show. It was Deke's Mid-Florida Championship. And when we were there, I was like, wait a second, maybe I could do this. And I met Shannon Day, who was my coach, and she said, why don't you compete? And I said, I don't know, I guess let me do it. And then literally the next week I started, and the journey began. And I really didn't think that it was going to be more than a one-show thing, but anyone who's competed can attest. One show in, and you're like, I'm hooked. I'm going to keep doing this. So I did my very first show in Orlando, and I got second to last place. And it was like the best day of my life. And I have to say, probably some of my best memories were from that first show, and it had nothing to do with, you know, caring about where I placed, but so much about the pride and making through the journey. And so from there, I set my sights on doing my next show, which was the Southern States. And when I was there, I went from second to last place, 9 months before, to winning 2 overalls that day. And just, you know, by taking that time and focusing and really investing, so much can change. And so I went along as a figure athlete, and then the bikini division came out, and I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I won in Pittsburgh, and I was one of the first Bikini Pros at the it was the 2009 USA's where I got my pro card, and that was the first year of the division. And I just had an amazing journey there. Let's see what kind of questions I'm not answering here. So my first pro win was at the IFBB Pittsburgh Pro, which was ironically where I got my first amateur win as a bikini athlete too, so it was kind of a fun experience for me. And I've had the honor and the pleasure to be a part of the Olympia as well as the Arnold experience, which is just such a humbling, wonderful experience. So the most enjoyable part of my career, I have to say, is less about the stage time and way more about the relationships that I developed over those years. And I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of success in the sport, but what I've taken away, yes, I have trophies, but those amazing friendships that I've made over the years are probably the things I treasure and cherish the most. So many, like Candice being one of those people, and then also having the opportunity to share the stage with my husband and having that experience together. So, I mean, I think all of us work so hard to better ourselves. And we all want to go on stage and walk away with the big trophy. But I tell you, take the time to meet other people and really cherish those friendships and those experiences, because these people will be your friends for life. The hardest thing about competing, you know what, honestly, I think it's the time management and the getting overtired. Like, you can kind of, once you get into the zone of dieting, you kind of like, you figure it out, you learn how to do it, and the training is fun. I mean, most of us really are sort of addicted to the high of training, but I think managing your time, having a career, managing family, all of those things are the most challenging, and you just really have to be planful. And please don't skimp on your sleep. That will keep you from becoming like hangry and grouchy and grumpy, and I think it really makes the difference. My husband can attest the difference between 6 hours, 5 hours of sleep and Jamie on 8 hours is like monster and sweetheart. So where I got my advice on training and diet, I worked with Bombshell Fitness my entire career. Shannon Day has been kind of like family to me for years. And I really recommend whoever you choose to work with. There are some amazing coaches out there. Is that you follow one person's advice. Everyone has an opinion, and if you open your ears to what every single person has to say at one time, especially at the beginning of your career, you'll be like this, like all over the place. And there are so many ways to get there, so I would recommend stick with someone for long enough for them to know you, know your body, have some experiences with you. And if after a while you feel like you don't have a good connection, this isn't working for me, then make the choice to make a change. But definitely don't hire one person, but then call this person and ask this person, because you're gonna end up like I call it prep ADD. You kind of end up like just a big mess at the end. Not necessarily just how your body looks, but where your head's at. Because anyone will tell you that where your head is when you walk up on stage makes the difference between the winner and the loser. Because you want to walk on stage feeling confident that you made all the right decisions leading up to that day. So, okay, I've probably talked enough. So I'm Jamie, and thank you.
Tara?
All right, I'm Tara Ramos. I started an NPC about 1.5 years ago. I guess it'll be 2 years this coming April. I started as a bikini competitor, and my first show was the Jack's Physique. I took first place, and I got started because I am a mom. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And when my daughter turned 12 months, I said to my husband, I want to show that moms can get in shape. Everybody always has all the excuses that moms don't have time and whatnot. And I was like, no, I know I can do this, and I'm going to prove it. So I did that show, and it was my first one. I had no idea what I was getting into. I got hooked, and I was like, I can't stop. When's my next one? Moved on a couple weeks later, went to Europa. I ended up doing 3 bikini shows, and I did very well. I placed top 3 in all of them, but I kept getting feedback that I needed to move on to figure, that I was very muscular. So we worked on that. I did the Mid-Florida, and I took 3rd place, and I just had so much motivation. I didn't want to stop, so I just kept going. And I really probably needed to take some time off and take an off season, but I just loved it so much, just being on stage, that I didn't. I just kept going, and I kept placing really well, and I qualified for nationals, and I ended up going, and I got 15th place. And I was bummed at first. I kept thinking that I wasted my husband's money. I kept thinking that I wasted our time going there. I came in 15th, and it was so expensive to get there. But he reminded me that, it was more of an investment in my career if I'm going to stick with this, and that use that as my fuel for the next season. So I did, and I listened to him. We took off a bunch of time. I went over to Junior USA's, and I got 2nd place. And then 3 weeks later, I went to Junior Nationals, and I got my pro card, and that was this June. I kept thinking that I wasted my time. I kept thinking that I wasted our time and whatnot. And I was like, no, I know I can do this, and that use that as my fuel for the next season. So I did, and I listened to him. We took off a bunch of time. I went over to Junior USA's, and I got 2nd place. And then 3 weeks later, I went to Junior Nationals, and I got my pro card, and that was this June. And I absolutely love it. I don't know, I love talking to other people about it. I love talking to moms, especially because there's so many women who do this sport that have kids. And I love inspiring everybody that, you know, it doesn't matter where you start, you know, you can do it. You can be 50 pounds overweight, you can be underweight, but you can change your body if you just get your head in the right place. I competed my first pro debut, 4 weeks ago, and I got 5th place there, and then a week later I went up to Arizona and I got 5th out there. So it's been a very successful year and a lot of fun. For me, the most challenging thing in this sport is definitely the time management. I'm, like I said, a mom, I'm a nurse, I have a husband, I run a personal training company, so I'm a perfectionist. I want to be good at everything. I want to be, you know, the coolest mom. I try to take my kids to Disney once a week. I try to go to SeaWorld once a week. I'm trying to do all these things, and I'm trying to prep for all these shows, you know, like, I want to be good at everything, and I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, you know, and be like, I'm a competitor, I have to do this. It's part of my life, and I live this, so, you know, I try to stay lean all year, that way I don't have to do a 16-week prep for a show. My last show I prepped for 7 weeks, and it's because it's my life. I don't want to get out of shape in my off season. You know, I want to live this, and I want to be happy, and I want to be able to enjoy a meal if I want to. You know, I want to go out to dinner with my family if I need to. So, you know, it's just finding the time to be able to divide it. And I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning so I can work out before my family is awake because I don't want to interrupt their day. So it's just how it is. I've been doing it now for a long time, and I do get tired, but, you know, I'm happy and I love it. Let's see, what else? Oh, and my coach is Eric Diffenderfer. He's local. He's Team Freak Physique, and he's got a lot of local competitors, and he is the one and only coach that I've ever been to. When I told my husband that I wanted to compete, he said, oh, there's this guy at the gym that I see all the time. I'm sure he knows something about it. And so he went up to him, and he was like, as a matter of fact, I'm starting a team, and tell your wife to give me a call. And my husband came home, and he took the business card, and he put it on the table, and he's like, you know, call this guy. And I was like, okay. And it sat there for like 3 weeks and never called. And he was like, are you ever going to call? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I am. And I picked up the phone, and he answered on the first ring. And I was like, and he was like, meet me tomorrow, and that's kind of how I got started with him. But we've just had a really great working relationship. I can tell him if I don't like something that he's doing with me, and, you know, we work it out, and he's been awesome. I trust him, and he's changed my body. I had an eating disorder before I started all of this, and I was afraid to, you know, eat carbs and all these things, and he had me eating, you know, 6 out of my 7 meals had carbs, you know, so he really changed my thinking process when it came to food, using food as fuel instead of that, you know, the food was going to make me fat, you know. So I definitely thank him for that. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi everybody, my name is Danny, or a little monster, whichever. I'm a women's physique pro. I absolutely love women's physique. I actually did start as a figure competitor, and I qualified for nationals as a figure competitor and actually competed there. Didn't do that well. It was the first year they brought in physique, and I was a little bit too jacked, I guess, for figure. And that's okay for me because figure wasn't enough for me. So just doing the regular lat spread on stage wasn't enough. I always wanted to pose, and so then they brought in women's physique, and I was like, oh my god, posing, routine, I'm in. And so then I started with women's physique, and my first show I did was in Panama City. I qualified for nationals in my very first show, and I actually did everything myself. I didn't even have a coach. I was just like, I'm just gonna do this because I know how to diet, and here I go. And so I qualified my first show. And then after that, I actually competed in Deke show, the Mid-Florida. That was my first win and overall. And then I competed at Southern States, got second, and then I won nationals. I actually won my class, so I won when it really counted. That was crazy. It was just such a blur, and I don't even remember it hitting me until Cynthia James, actually. The next day I was standing outside with my trophy, and she looked at it and she said, welcome to the IFBB. And I almost fell over. I don't even know if I said thank you. I was just like, and that I remember that was when it first hit me that I was actually a pro the next day. I became involved in the sport in high school, actually. My high school put on a Mr. and Miss Wesley Chapel bodybuilding competition, and I competed in it all 4 years. The first 2 years, I had no idea what bodybuilding was. I thought it was getting oiled up on stage and just flexing. And I was involved in weightlifting and cheerleading, so I had a little bit of muscle. So I did. I got oiled up and I posed and I did a good routine. And the first 2 years, I actually won showmanship, so I had a good routine. The second 2 years, I won the overall. I was Miss Wesley Chapel 2 years in a row, and that was when I got the bug. And I also went back and did my first guest posing with the Wesley Chapel bodybuilding competition. So that was really, really cool. That's when I first got involved in it. I moved to Orlando, and people were saying, you should compete, you have a lot of muscle, and I was just in the gym. So I did my first figure show at Europa. I got second out of 2 in the teen division. I was 19, and after that, I won my first figure show. And after that, I won another figure show and qualified for nationals, and then went to nationals. So that, it's been a very, kind of a short career, kind of a fast career for me, but I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. Let's see. The most enjoyable part about being a pro, or being women's physique pro, I should say, is posing. I love posing, everything about it. I love the routine. I love the mandatories. I love that I do my mandatories a little differently than everybody else. I feel like that's what makes me stand out, is presenting my body a little differently. And then I like to put on a good show. People come to the show, they want to be entertained, so I put on a good routine, and it's something that I take very seriously. So posing is my favorite part of being a pro. The hardest part about competing, cookies. I love cookies. That's the hardest part for me, is the diet. Once I get in my grind of the diet, everything's fine. But then I get a cheat meal and I want cookies, and then off season, cookies. And so the hardest part for me is competing. The training's easy, the training's fun once you're getting lean. I'm sure you know, you look awesome at the gym, training's fun. Cardio you can actually get into a little bit. And then the diet, you know, you chicken, but then every once in a while you have a craving. My craving is always cookies. So that's the hardest part for me. And my training and diet I was getting from Jamie Baird. I've also been on a team with Eric Diffenderfer. And then I actually have a master's in exercise science and physiology. So a lot of the stuff I learned from myself. I went through and got my education pretty much for the reason that I love bodybuilding. And I learned how to build muscle, I learned how to eat on my own, I learned how to do all of these things scientifically that helped me get where I am today without other things besides food and diet. So that's where I get all my advice. I get advice from everywhere. I'm always open to learning if it makes sense, if it makes scientific sense, not bro science. I'm always open to learning, and I take every single show as a learning experience. And I think everybody should, whether it's your first show or your 20th show, every single show you should have something to take away from it. And you'll learn as you compete that even if it's something as far as like the tan, or the way you ate, or the whatever you had before you went on stage, or the night before. Everything changes every single show, even your soup. Sometimes you're not glued all the way right. And just every little thing. I encourage you to have an open mind and to just take in everything and learn as much as you can. That's all.
Hello, I'm Candice King. I'm an IFBB Figure Pro, and I became a figure competitor in 2008. I started my prep 7 weeks before my first show, which was, my first show was All South up in St. Augustine. I did the prep basically to reach a positive goal, something positive in my life. So I approached my coach, Jamie Baird, and I said, hey, I want to do a figure show. And he was like, okay, well, let's do it. 7 weeks later, I went to the All South, and I placed first in my class, and I took overall, and that qualified me for nationals. And I was talking to one of the judges, and she said, don't give up, keep going, you have huge potential. So I said, okay. I didn't really know anything about figure or follow the sport too much to know, all about everything that is involved in it. So I told Jamie, I said, hey, let's go to nationals. Let's just get in the car and go. I'm already in shape, 2 weeks away, let's do it. He's like, you know it's the biggest national show there is, right? And I'm like, it's okay. I just want to act like a sponge and soak up all the information. So I did, and because I think my mindset was I wasn't expecting anything. I just wanted to go and have fun, and I was in a positive state of mind. I won my pro card at that show 2 weeks later with my first show. So that was a huge thing for me, and I found my passion that night. And it's been a crazy ride ever since. So 6 years ago, this Passion Nationals. But to date, I've done 32 show preps over the last 6 years. And I say show preps because I've been on stage 31 times, but one of those preps, it would have been my second pro show. It was the Jacksonville 2009. And I made it all the way backstage, tan on, makeup, hair, everything. I was in line, and I don't know really what happened. My body and my mind just wasn't working together. So as if you're going to pass out, you just couldn't get a hang of it. So I had to, unfortunately, sit on the side in a chair and watch everybody compete, and that was really, really heartbreaking. But the next year, I came back and I won that show, so that was good. But my first show, pro show, was the Orlando Europa, and I placed 6th. And I did that every show. I did that show every single year until I finally won it, which was 2012. And my first pro win was Hartford Europa 2010. And 2 weeks later, I won the Jacksonville Pro. And I became involved in the sport basically for structure, for a goal. I wanted to do something positive with my life. I wanted to change a lot about myself, and that's what this sport does in competing. It helps you find yourself. It helps you become a better person because you challenge yourself each day, and you find a lot about yourself just by realizing the inner strength that you do have and things you can overcome and the obstacles that you face and everything like that. The most enjoyable part of my pro career, like Jamie Baird said, the friendships, because you're going to meet so many people in the sport, and but they're going to be lasting relationships. And the IFBB is kind of like a camaraderie. So it's not, when you're backstage and everybody just gets along when they're, competing with each other. Tara, was it different compared to nationals?
I think so, yeah. I think it's like so much more relaxed.
Yeah, it's just a different vibe, and everybody's just kind of chill. Also the most enjoyable part, like I said, is goals. You find yourself in structure. I just love it. It's my passion, and I live for it. The hardest part about competing, like Dani said, can be the diet sometimes. But then again, it's all mental, but still, it's there. And you want that cookie or peanut butter or whatever. And then also, the hardest part for me lately is structural. You want to be, the most important advice I would give to anybody working out or competing is make sure you know your muscular balances and whatever structural alignments that you have going on, because if you keep building on a muscle, if you're imbalanced and you keep strengthening that part, it can whack your whole structure out and it can cause problems later. So that's just been a little hard for me this past year. Where did I get my advice about training and diet? I Google a lot of stuff. I like to do internet research. I've worked with Jamie all my 32 show preps. And then my boyfriend, Coach BJ over there, he teaches me a lot about form and different moves, and a lot of TRX moves, and just functional training too, because I think that is very important in training as well, on top of bodybuilding. But one thing I can say is enjoy the journey, because you have to enjoy every single minute, because it's the memories that you hold in your heart, the relationships you build, and it's just, you just want to have fun and just be yourself. That's it.
Eddie.
Good afternoon, I'm Eddie Baird. I've been referred to as Mr. Jamie Baird in some circles. Jamie said a lot of what you're going to hear from me already. I got into competition essentially by virtue of following her around for a few years. The very first show I did was Deke's Mid-Florida Classic. I competed as a bodybuilder, if you can believe that. Physique didn't exist yet. I knew I would never win any competitions based on mass. I've never had to stand next to a lion. So Deke, my good friend, first of all, Deke, thank you for asking us to speak today. It's an honor and a privilege to be around and to help out and to be able to speak to everybody. So Deke helped me through and showed me how to pose. I looked at those pictures and I just looked like the most ridiculous idiot in the Gold's Gym group cardio room trying to hit some poses. I'm going to send them to you. But I'll never forget those memories. Tim Gardner, who was a local judge and also a good friend, helped me through my initial preps. So I competed as a bodybuilder and learned a lot along the way. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about what you're capable of, obviously. So, like I said, Physique did not yet exist. I did one show, felt on top of the world. Everybody knows it's an exhilarating experience, followed by, can be, a depression. I'm so fat, the week after it's full over. But you learn a lot about it. You come to crave it and crave that success. Jamie coined it, I think, perfectly. She always says, fitness fuels life's success, and I think that's absolutely true. Whether it's, whether your goals are to earn an IFBB Pro card, honorable, admirable goal, or if you've come through a giant weight loss experience, you've beaten a disease, coming back from an injury, all of those are equally admirable goals. I can't stress that enough. I mean, we're sitting up here, all of us have had the good fortune to have earned our professional status in the IFBB, but you don't wake up the next day after earning a pro card and you're a different person. You don't win the lottery. You're not 10 times more good looking anymore. You're not a better person. It can help you, and it can help you realize the potential that you have. But what's more important is that it's not what you do yourself. And again, I'm going to borrow from my wife. It's how many people you take with you along the way. It's truly what matters. And the NPC is the perfect venue for that, because it gives us so much opportunity to be a community, to meet with one another, to encourage one another, to help each other, to help others, to help the people around us, our loved ones. So I think for me, that's the most important part of doing what we do. It's very easy to lose perspective and get so caught up in yourself that you lose sight of what the most important things truly are around you. It's great to win. It's great to win a show, a class, and overall, it's fantastic, wonderful. Congratulations. But at the same time, what the most difficult thing is about competing, I think, is making sure not only you manage your time, but you also manage your relationships with your loved ones and the people around you that mean so much to you. Because this can cause you to get lost in yourself if you're not careful. When you look in the mirror every day, and my humble advice would be to see yourself, but also think about everybody else around you, who you are important to and who is important to you. You do learn a lot along the way. Things get tough. You got to make your meals. Got to hit your workouts. All of that matters. But a lot of things matter. Everybody's busy, and everyone is important. So I try to never lose sight of that. Going out of order, the way I got into competing as a physique competitor was the division was created, and I knew, for me personally, that would be exactly what I wanted to do. I was already carrying bags around the country, dragging behind her, and I'd already met a lot of people that I really got along with, met great friends. So I figured I'd try on a pair of board shorts and see how it went, which I did. I was one of the first men's Physique Pros in 2011. I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys. Many of them have gone on to compete in the Olympia and done very well, and I'm proud to still know them as friends. But I'll never forget those early days from when the division was in its formative months and years at the beginning, and it's been really cool to watch it evolve, both in numbers and just the way everybody goes about it, because there's obviously passion and enthusiasm, not only about that division, but about competing in general. Pardon me, sorry. Okay, I got my pro card, 2011 Team U. I've gone over the hardest part, and that truly is the hardest part. That's really the message that I want to send, is that NPC is such a wonderful venue. There's so many great people in here, many of which have given me direct advice about how I've done my training and my diet. Deke was one. Jamie Iboni, sitting in the back, you've heard his name a lot today, was another. And I learned a lot with doing it myself as well. So I'm glad that we're all here together, and I'd love the opportunity to meet with and get to know a lot of you today. And I'm sure we'll talk about some more of the nuts and bolts of it, but that's really all I have to say for now. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Pateracki.
involved in the sport of bodybuilding. As growing up, I was very, very competitive in a lot of athletics. I played every sport imaginable. So after my school career was finished, I was kind of left high and dry, and being as competitive as I am, I needed something to fill that competitive void in my life. And I had a good friend of mine that I was starting to work out with. I never touched a weight until after I was done with my sports. So I started working out with a good friend of mine named Brian. We actually worked out at World's Gym in Altamont Springs, where I ran into Mr. Jamie Baird. And he came up to me and he asked me, have I ever competed, or would I ever be interested? And it sunk in my head, and I thought about it for a while. At first I was, nah, the little shorts and getting on stage in front of a bunch of people just wasn't for me. But as I continued to work out, I seen a lot of progression. And as I seen myself progress, I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a try. So I sat down with Jamie and scheduled out and planned to do Deke's show, which was my first show, the Mid-Florida Classic, way back in 1999. So yeah, I've been competing for quite a while. We did the show and wound up winning the novice class. And after that show, I basically just got the bug for bodybuilding. I was like, wow, this is, for me, something that I can do and be very competitive at. And from there, I just went on and continued to progress over the years. But I didn't really get serious about the sport till about 2009. I competed in many, many shows from 99 to 09, but just kind of doing it casually here and there, not really taking it seriously. But in 09 is when I really, really said, you know what, I'm doing this for quite a while. I'm going to really dedicate myself to this and really, really see what I can do. And in 2013 at the NBC Nationals last year, I finally got my pro status as an IFBB Pro. And it was my 4th attempt. And after that, it was just another notch, another level that I hit mentally, where I was like, wow, I can do that. Let me see what I can do next. So, let's see. The most enjoyable thing about the sport at the IFBB level is it's a lot different than your local shows. The competitors, I just did my first show at the Ferguson Legacy last week in Santa Barbara. The backstage vibe is a lot different. Everybody has mutual camaraderie with one another, as I'm sure you guys all can relate to and understand. It's just real laid back. Going from a national level show where there's hundreds, close to 1,000 competitors backstage, and not everybody is the friendliest, back there. Being, it was a good eye opener for me, because everybody backstage was very friendly. Like I said, we share a common camaraderie with one another, so everybody was really laid back, and the show just was really, really smooth. So it was a great experience for me. The hardest thing about competing for me personally, Eddie made a good point about the relationships, and I really, really, can relate to that. That's very important. But also is the mental fortitude that you have to have, going through the diet and, going through some level of, suffering to some degree. You're tired and you're mentally weak. So to be able to really, really bring yourself to a mental fortitude where you can push through those times of weakness and tired and self-doubt, because there's days when you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, am I really getting ready for a show? Where you just don't have that confidence. So to be able to really, really tap into that mental fortitude, to really, really believe in yourself, that's a tough part about the sport. And I believe that's really what, it's one of the things that really can make you a champion at the end, is just really, really believing in yourself and having that mental fortitude that it takes to not just compete at a local level, but at an elite level as well. Over the years, I had the honor to really work with a lot of great people. So I've gleaned a lot of advice and knowledge from a lot of great individuals throughout the year. Deke, one, Jamie, as well, and quite a few others. It's just been an honor and a privilege, to do what I love to do. So, thank you.